Again, this is the dual reality we're living in. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to perceive, in this world we're living in, at times it seems subtle, but we know that we're heading towards something. You can sense it. You can feel it. That is, if you're awake. Some people are getting it. Where do we go from here?
Heard March 31st is an Easter, and now you need to know what to do. Welcome to Olive Top Productions, where I drop biblical bombs and I tell you what's coming for the collective, and let me help you out. In 2009, I was a 20-something, very young, and I was made aware of a truth that I had previously been unaware of by a friend. This friend told me that, believe it or not, everything that I knew was a lie. My friend told me that all of the holidays I was celebrating were lies, and there were many other lies that this person also told me about. And this person also introduced me to Alex Jones. So it was a big eye-opening moment. Definitely the red pill matrix moment, if you will. Good news is he was not BSing, and everything that he told me about was true, including all the things that Alex Jones was talking about all those years ago that have actually now come to light as truth. Once I found out that the religious observances that I was observing, all rooted in child sacrifice, from the greatest of holiday to the least of the holidays that the church has indoctrinated into its people, all the holy days of Moloch and Baal and not the holy days of the Lord, I was utterly shocked. From that moment on, my now husband and I immediately ceased participating in those holidays. And because God blessed us with this experience before we were married, none of my 4 children have observed these holidays. That's something that I'm very grateful for and proud of. It wasn't easy, and it hurt our family deeply to have us turn our backs on the traditions that they taught us and that they hold as their sacred holidays. But once we knew what it was, and once we read Jeremiah 10, there was no going back. And allow me to share Jeremiah 10 with you. Hear the word which Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh speaks to you, house of Israel.
Happy New Year today, the 1st of April. This is why it's known as April Fool's Day. It's actually the first day of the year. Our original calendar had 13 months of 28 days, and everything was switched about so that we celebrate New Year in December, in winter, when everything's dead. And that's why the New Year's resolutions never actually, for most people, never actually come true. So today is New Year's Day. Set them resolutions. It's spring. Everything's springing into life. This is when the new year actually starts.
Sometimes April 1st was the first day of the year. It got changed to January 1st, but the news didn't travel. And so people who still celebrated on April 1st were called fools because they didn't know, they weren't up on the times, they didn't get the message. The theory is that Julius Caesar introduced the Julian calendar and made January 1st the first day of the year, 365 days in the year.
Why April 1st is known as April Fool's Day. April Fool is actually originated in France in the 16th century, when the country switched from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar. The change meant that the new year was moved from the end of March to January 1st, but not everyone was aware of the change. Those who continue to celebrate New Year's Day on April 1st were mocked and labeled as April Fools.
Guys, tomorrow we celebrate Jesus, okay? I know they told us Christmas is about Jesus, but who is Santa, right? And you know what other name Santa can spell out? Satan. It was originated from a cult. Anyway, tomorrow, which is called April Fool's Day, is actually the birth of Jesus. Yani, this world is a scam. Everything I grew up thinking it is, these days I'm just coming to find out, like, things are not what you think they are, okay? And this world, what they try to make look bad is actually good, and what is good is actually bad. So tomorrow we celebrate Jesus.
This is why I've said the dates that they are giving us are incorrect. We used to have 13 months, 28 days, and 1 day of rest, even in the Bible. So look, we have 13 lunar cycles of 28 days, 13 zodiac signs. Every turtle shell you'll find, 13 sections in the middle, and 28 notches along the side, all to keep us disconnected from these natural cycles of our realm.
Talk about the eclipse on April 8th that's happening and the connection it has with Easter. Watch this video get banned. I have a book. It's from the 1800s. Let's do this. Here's the book in all its glory. Right here it says, The Passion of the Lord from Palm Sunday to Easter Eve, April 1st to April 7th, AD 30. Let's turn a couple pages. The Resurrection and Ascension of Christ from Easter Day to Ascension Day, April 8th to May 17th, AD 30. That's crazy? Totally not crazy. Truth. Now let me walk you through each day. Palm Sunday, April 1st. Monday, April 2nd, he cleansed the temple. Tuesday, April 3rd was Jesus' last teaching. Tuesday night, Jesus told his disciples the time of his betrayal. And then on Wednesday, April 4th, he remained in Bethany until Thursday.
Let's never forget there's a Bible from 1775 that states Jesus' birthday is on April 1st. Imagine that. April Fool's Day. Who are the fools?
Jesus born on December 25th?
No. First clue, Luke 2. It says, And she gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him in cloths, laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. In the same region, there were some shepherds staying out in the fields, keeping watch over their flocks by night. The rabbis say in the Talmud that shepherds would only be out in the fields around March until the next rainy season. So there is one time of the year that shepherds would especially be out with their flocks at night. Only one. That's in the springtime. Why are they watching their flocks at all hours? Because shepherds during one particular time do that. It's when the sheep give birth to lambs. In the lambing season. That's the only time. That's where they're watching. At any time of day, any time of night, they're watching for any birth. That's the only time. And when would that happen? The lambs are not like people. They're only born at one time. March, April, that's the center. That's the Hebrew month of Nisan. We're going to also go through Nisan is that month. So during that, they'll be watching it, which all fits together because, the shepherds, their job is to watch because a lamb, they have to make sure that lamb's okay. So it's what a perfect thing to begin with, because Jesus is the Lamb of God. So why would God have, who would he have to greet the birth? Shepherds who are watching for the birth of the lambs. A place where the lambs that they had were actually the lambs for the temple sacrifice. Bethlehem especially was the lambs for the temple sacrifice.
Really?
So here, what more perfect place and time? Messiah born at the time of the lambs, when the sacrificial lambs are born, in the place where they're born. Every day, every time he fulfills a whole, he doesn't just fulfill the time, the theme of that day, he fulfills it. For instance, Passover, he dies as the Passover lamb. First fruits, he rises. So everything has to. Is there any day on the Hebrew calendar that would match up with birth, new beginning, new everything? There is one day, and it happens to be in Nisan. And the one day is Nisan 1, which is the very beginning of the Hebrew year. The very day that begins everything. Nisan 1, which is the very beginning of the Hebrew year. The very day that begins everything.
Since this falls on this special day, April 1st, 2024, first I have to cover this. Why not celebrate the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus on what we call Easter? And why to observe the Passover? Why is it even of any importance? I'll tell you why. A very quick and brief backstory of Easter, Eostre, which means spring equinox. Why the pagan day Ishtar or Easter? Ishtar, the Mesopotamian goddess of love, sexuality, and fertility. The Eastern religion, nature, is reflected in various beliefs in ancient worlds till now. This pagan deity is also associated with the planet Venus, the morning and evening star. Ishtar is considered a Mesopotamian god class called the Anunnaki. Ishtar is an Akkadian counterpart of the West Semitic goddess, AstartE, or Ashtoreth. In Anglo-Saxon, she is Eostre, the queen Semiramis, the wife of Nimrod. Nimrod, which built the Tower of Babel, and they were known for their evil worship practices, rituals, and perversions. The Anglo-Saxon goddess Eostre, whose name is linked to the modern celebration of Easter, symbolizing spring and fertility, often depicted carrying a woven basket of eggs on her arm. Ashtoreth is a cross between AstartE Egyptian and Inanna Sumerian. She was one of the most mentioned deities in the Old Testament. In Judges 10:6, the people of Israel worshiped Baal and Ashtoreth, and by this made God angry and brought great trouble in the land. Then in 1 Samuel 7:4, it says, "So the people of Israel put away the Baals and the Ashtoreths, and they served the Lord only." And it does say plurals, many false gods. Then they got rid of the foreign gods among them and served the Lord. This kind of ties into it. I'm trying to paint a picture for understanding purposes. I'm not switching gears here. I think many would agree that it's not specifically spelled out to us the exact time of the birth of Jesus. We can surmise and have some insight by certain activities that took place during his birth. But again, I think everyone would agree that Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. Well, according to the feast days, not so much the Jewish observed days, it's the festivals that the Bible shows that God himself ordained and set apart and made holy, found in Leviticus. And he set certain days and events to observe, and that would be the beginning of God's calendar, the Hebrew calendar. It's called Nisan, which is April, and all the feast days that follow after April 1st. And these are decreed, determined, or ordered by the moon cycles and phases. What's really sad is in our world, in our modern way of thinking, it seems so far-fetched, I know, but this is sound doctrine. The definition of sound doctrine is a teaching that rightly explains that God has revealed to us in his word. Sound doctrine is essential to the church and the Christian life because it is a central means by which we grow to maturity in Christ. Listen to this. In 2 Timothy 4, "For the time will come when they will not endure or tolerate sound doctrine, but after their own desires shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables, or traditionally something made up, that has been passed down to generation to generation." Knowing that Jesus fulfilled the feast days or celebrations starting at the first month, which is Nisan, by this we know that his birth took place during the spring equinox, or in the beginning of the year, which would be April 1st. But, unlike Passover, the other feast days, the Bible never says to celebrate Jesus' birth. That's why we're not given the exact time. But as with the Passover and the other holy days, we know the event and we know the exact time. These are the holy days Jesus says to observe. For some, like me, this was a hard pill to swallow because we've been indoctrinated so much and vainly believe something that just isn't the way it's supposed to be. This is bigger than just getting over a habit or habitual way of life. It's ingrained in our society, in our brains, in our hearts. Tradition, it's our thought process. This is for somebody, not all. Listen, our world is about to change. We're seeing things that we've never seen before. We're going to start seeing a string of events unfold. And like this message, some will understand what's going on. Some will understand what's going on.